The 2024 coaster season is pretty much over, so now it's time to look back and sort out everything I got to ride. In this video, I'm going to focus on the new stuff. I got on 42 new coasters this year, from my trip to Australia in January, to my trip to the East Coast in July, throwing in a random trip to Utah in June. I was super impressed by some of the new coasters I got to experience, but I wasn't left without some disappointment. Today, let's talk about both sides of that coin. These are the biggest winners and losers of my new credits in 2024. I have 13 coasters I consider winners. These are the coasters that were either just flat out awesome, or they exceeded my expectations. I only have 7 coasters I consider losers. These were either terrible, or they just weren't what I thought they would be. Let's talk about the winners first. Number 13, Merlin's Mayhem at Dutch Wonderland. This is a small family park. In fact, according to the Golden Ticket Awards, it's the world's best family park, and it has a great family suspended coaster right there in the front. I went in not expecting much. I've ridden a bunch of these from Vekoma, some old like Steel Lasso and Freedom Flyer, some new like Dragon Flyer and Phoenix, so I didn't know what to expect. This is 60 feet tall, 1,300 feet long, designed by Joe Dre, so that was promising, but I thought this was a lot of fun from start to finish. Not very long, but very punchy. I don't think I was expecting anything near that. Number 12, Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. This opened in 2023 and everyone seemed to be impressed with it, so I figured it would be pretty good. This is one of the longest family coasters ever, just shy of 4,000 feet, and you felt all of it. It's not very fast, so it takes a while to make it through all that track, and this is just an awesome tour around Wildwood Grove. I do wish it had some force. Compared to Dragon Flyer, this is completely forceless, but you got 3 launches, onboard audio. At times this can be whippy. We asked for the back row and got it, and most of all, smooth as glass. This was a perfect addition for Wildwood Grove, something everyone can enjoy. Number 11, Wild Mouse at Beach Bend. It was hard to find this coaster. It's way back behind the water park, but I'm glad we tracked it down. There was no one back there, and we're sitting there watching the empty car cycle, and I'm telling you, I thought those cars weren't gonna make it. I thought we were gonna have to climb the track and push. That all changed once we got on the ride. I sat on the same side of the car as Sophie, hoping to throw the weight off so we can spin as much as possible, but you don't spin at first. You have to go into those switchbacks, and those are crazy janky. Once you dip down and turn around, those cars unlock, and this became one of my all-time favorite spinning mouse coasters. Absolutely stack all the weight on one side of the car. If you do that, you'll have an amazing ride. Number 10, Kentucky Rumbler at Beach Bend. This was the last GCI in America I needed to ride, but Beach Bend was always out of the way. I made it a point in 2024 to get there, and even though Wild Mouse was a good surprise, I came here for the Rumbler and it did not disappoint. I don't hear a lot of people rave about this, so I figured it was either rough or the layout was boring, so I didn't go in expecting anything amazing. It really wasn't mind-blowing, but for a park like this coaster's awesome. Not very rough. It had a few sections of Titan track and that helped a lot, and it had some good airtime in the back on the first drop. And after that, it was definitely not an airtime machine, but it had a great twister layout, something you can really appreciate when it runs as well as this does. Number 9, Sandy's Blasting Bronco at Nickelodeon Universe. It took me 3 visits to finally ride Sandy's, but you know what they say, third time's a charm, and this was worth the wait. This is a Weird Intamin, classified as the vertical LSM coaster, a compact launch coaster that goes into 4 inversions in a very linear layout. Then it stops, hits a turntable in the station, and launches you backwards through the same course. That backward launch was by far the best, but the forward launch was also super punchy. You don't have a lot of track to get you up to speed, so it brings a lot of power. The elements were all very whippy and intense. My only problem was how bumpy that track was. Very weird for a brand new indoor coaster. So if they fix that, that much better. Number 8, Oscar's Wacky Taxi at Sesame Place. I've ridden a few Gravity Group family coasters, and they're fine, nothing great, and I did not expect the one at Sesame Place to be all that much better. This is a park for small kids. How good can their family wooden coaster be? Simply put, it's the best out there, at least among the ones I've ridden. It's only 43 feet tall, 34 miles an hour, 1,200 feet long, but it's glass smooth. I was getting airtime in the back row over pretty much every hill, and at the end, there's one really nice pop-up ejector. They closed the line down before I could get my second ride, so all I have to go on was that one awesome ride, and I have no idea if I'm ever getting back here. Number 7, Green Lantern Coaster at Movie World. I've ridden some other El Locos, this one being very similar to Steel Hog at Indiana Beach, but this one is taller and steeper. 108 feet tall, 1,600 feet of track, and that drop at 120.5 degrees is wild. Only 2 coasters in the world have a steeper drop. It's not just a one-trick pony. In the back left seat, I was getting whipped around. I got some great hang time on the dive loop. Mind you, this only has a lap bar, and there was a great combination of hang time and whip on that downward roll to end the ride. I was so impressed by the forces on this ride, on the very comfortable S&S 4 across lap bar only trains, and I would have gone back for a round 2 if the line wasn't so long and slow. Number 6. Superman Escape at Movie World. I wasn't sure what to make of this intimate accelerator. It wasn't the tallest or fastest or longest. Also, it has those old hard over-the-shoulder restraints, but this was such a great ride. It starts with a really cool dark ride section, riding through a subway, Superman pushing you to safety via that 62-mile-an-hour launch. This isn't super fast, but it has all the punch you could ever want in a hydraulic launch. Up and over a 131-foot top hat, so much airtime in the back row, and instead of 2 boring overbanks like Accelerator, it has 2 awesome airtime hills. Both of them delivered big time, and then the ride's over. This was the only disappointing part, but this is something I could ride all day for that launch and those 3 great airtime moments. Number 5. Leviathan at SeaWorld. This gravity group looks a lot like a GCI from the outside. Kind of a compact twisting layout, and I wasn't sure if this was going to be an elite wooden coaster or something average. First off, because it's gravity group, it was weirdly rough. Not jackhammer rough or anything like that, but throughout the course it just kinda grinds on you. At the time, it was only a year old, but it beat me up pretty good. That added to the chaos, especially when I rode backwards. That was also a very cool experience. Don't pass it up if you have the chance. Spend the money to see what that's like. This was a long ride with no dead spots, about 3,300 feet of track, 105 feet tall. Just a great layout that keeps its speed, and so many pumps of airtime from start to finish. Nothing was crazier than taking that first drop backwards in the back row. But if you can put up with this roughness, this is a ride you can lap all day and not get bored. Number 4. Big Dipper at Luna Park. I know, it has a launch and inversions, but ever since they were unveiled, I saw these intimate hot racers as the family-friendly version of an RMC Raptor. Big Dipper proved that wrong. It has a tire launch to get the train up to the main launch. That gets the train up to 45 miles an hour very fast, and you feel it. Into this non-inverting loop and Sidewinder. Very, very whippy, but this part of the ride is also super rough. The rest of the ride is fine, but it's like the wheels turn in the blocks on this section of the ride. After that, you get some strong airtime, a corkscrew, a low to the ground twister section, and the ride ends. I didn't think I would enjoy Big Dipper as much as I did, and best of all, it just has lap bars. Nothing digging into your shoulders like an RMC Raptor. This was a big, pleasant surprise. Number 3. Flying Turns at Knoebels. Just like Sandy's, I had bad luck with this coaster. I had been to Knoebels 3 times since 2018, and not once was it open. That changed in 2024, and it made the wait more than worth it. This wooden bobsled was built in-house. It took 8 years from the announcement to opening day, and when you see the stats, it's not that impressive. 50 feet tall, 1,300 feet of track, 24-mile-an-hour top speed. I'm thinking this ride is more of a novelty. A throwback to the wooden bobsleds of the past, but after riding it, I realized I was way off. It doesn't feel like 24 miles an hour. It feels like you're on a collision course with death. Your sled completely out of control. A chaos-filled ride that was pure fun all the way to the end. Do not sleep on Flying Turns. If you see it open, run over there and get a ride. Number 2. DC Rivals Hypercoaster at Movie World. Ever since this Mach Hyper opened in 2017, it was a big deal in the coaster world. This ride is not underrated, it's not underreported. Even though it's in Australia, everyone knows about it and was dying to ride DC Rivals. When I wrote it, I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectations, but it secured a place on my list as an absolutely elite ride. Easily a top 20 coaster of all time, it has 4,600 feet of track, starting with a twisted 202-foot drop, 72-mile-an-hour top speed, has one of those elite non-inverting loops, and is packed with powerful airtime at the start and great air at the end. My one complaint is the middle. It really dies there. But those last few airtime hills are so great, it leaves you satisfied in the brake run. I was nervous about those Mach ride's lap bars. Sometimes these staple you bad, but these didn't do that. You can also ride this backwards for an extra fee, and that was a great ride on its own. Not gimmicky, not overly insane, just a whole new way to experience a great ride. And those last 2 airtime hills stood out riding backwards for some reason. Movie World wanted a world-class elite coaster, and they got one. Number 1. Steel Taipan spinning bat car at Dreamworld. You'll find in Australia, the growing trend is a special bat car in their new major coasters. Steel Taipan opened in 2021, and where DC Rivals and Leviathan let you ride backwards, this one lets you ride in a spinning car. Steel Taipan is a Blue Fire clone. You find these all over the world, but this spinning bat car makes this one special. We rode this one by one, trying to throw off the weight so we could spin more, and it was the single best ride experience I had in Australia. Absolutely, one of the best rides I've ever had on anything anywhere. It starts with a 65-mile-an-hour swing launch, 4 inversions over 4,000 feet of track, and when you're going into a loopy course with all that whip while spinning, honestly, this beats the pants off Time Traveler, and it makes me wonder if that's what Ride to Happiness feels like. If so, I can see why it's a lot of people's number one. If you can only pay for one bat car experience in Australia, make it this one. It's one of the best things you'll ever do. Now, here are the 7 losers on my list. These coasters either totally sucked, or they just weren't as good as I thought they would be. Number 7, Steel Taipan at Dreamworld. I know, this was my number 1 winner, but that was only in the spinning bat car. When you ride this in a normal seat, it's not all that great. I think that's the general consensus in the coaster world when it comes to Blue Fire clones. They leave a lot to be desired. It was very tame. The backwards launch was probably the best part, but the final launch is so drawn out you barely feel it. You just kinda crawl into its inversions. But it does end strong. Good airtime in the back off the mid-course. And that last inline twist is very weird and I like it. I think they should break down and make every seat a spinning seat. Right now, after a couple rides, you're ready to move on to something else. For a park's premiere ride, you'd hope it'd be a little stronger than this. Number 6, Kenny's Forest Flyer at Dreamworld. I know, this is just a Vekoma hang and bang. It dates back to 2002, and it's just the same lame one you find anywhere, but this still makes my losers list. There's one simple reason for that, the restraint. These are kind of wide set. That's good to stop headbanging, but these dug into my shoulders so bad, I was in searing pain the whole ride. I would rather battle the bad transitions and try to keep my head safe, instead of having these dig into my shoulders and make the whole ride miserable, even on the lift hill. This won't be a problem for everyone, it depends on your height. But for me, this made the ride unrideable, so I suffered through the credit and left. Number 5, Jet Rescue at SeaWorld. This Intamin family launch coaster was never on my radar, but before my trip, people said it was really good. I got my hopes up. Maybe this was more like Hooverland at Jer Summerland, and less like Wavebreaker at SeaWorld San Antonio. Sorry to say, it's definitely Wavebreaker. The one great thing was those low turns, wrapping around the rocks, hugging the ground. That was a nice touch, but if the ride had any bite, that would have been so much better. It was very short, no punch. I should have stuck with my original thoughts and assumed this was a tame family coaster. Apparently, it was running slow the day I got there, so that gives me hope. Maybe this is better than what I got that afternoon in mid-January. Number 4, Shredder at Nickelodeon Universe. Just like Sandy's, this was my 3rd trip to the park. I had never ridden this Gerstlauer spinner. I was always excited for this one, absolutely loving the Pandemonium coasters, and this was a custom supersized one. One important thing to remember about these spinners, they are very dependent on weight distribution. The more balanced your car, the less you'll spin. You have to throw off that weight somehow, and that can be hard because if you have a group of 2, you'll be paired with another group of 2. The trick is to have a group of 3 and you don't get stuck with a single rider. I rode this with Sophie, and not only did we barely spin, the ride seemed to be extremely slow. It does have almost 1,000 more feet of track than your typical Gerstlauer spinner, so it feels like a long ride, but this could have put us to sleep. Maybe when I get back, I'll give it another shot. We were so disappointed the first time around, we didn't bother getting another ride. Number 3, Mountain Coaster at Snowbird. I had never ridden an alpine coaster I didn't like. I thought they were mostly the same. I paid almost $30 to ride this one just outside Salt Lake City, and normally, you have a long trip up the side of a mountain and a long way down. When I hit the top, I realized this was going to be different. Wait, this is how high we're going? Oh no, this is going to be a very short ride. Of course it was, only 2,100 feet long. That's about half as long as the other mountain coaster in the area, that being at Park City. I didn't know much about this going in, so I kind of felt ripped off by the end. I got the credit, but no mountain coaster should be that short, especially at that price. Number 2, Professor Screamore Sidewinder at Six Flags America. This isn't a new coaster, but a whole new experience, so I'm putting it in with my new credits. But don't worry, I don't consider this a new credit on my list. I'm not going to sink that low. Mind Eraser opened in 1995, tortured people for 27 years, including me in 2008 and 2019, and then it shut down as the whole area got a facelift. As of 2024, it's part of Steamtown. It has new colors and new trains with vests, so the nice thing is, you can say goodbye to headbanging. When Six Flags New England got almost the same exact upgrade, it made their SLC one of the best rides in the park. I was skeptical, but I went in thinking it could be good. It was not. It was horrifying. That track needs serious help. It was just a rickety mess from start to finish. And it's obvious, the park should have taken the money they spent on the new trains and spent it to fix the track. I get the effort to upgrade the ride, but it's still unrideable. So really, what did they accomplish here? It looks nice, but this was a waste of money. Number 1, Iron Menace at Dorney Park. Even if you don't love B&M dive coasters, these are generally okay rides. You may not find them super thrilling, but you can lap them a few times and you can really enjoy it. Dorney Park was starting for a new coaster. Their last ground-up coaster came back in 2005. They got a relocation in 2008, another one in 2012, but that one's already gone. So a modern, original B&M dive was a great choice for this park. I rode it in July, and I did not like it one bit. It has a great first drop, 152 feet at 95 degrees. That beyond vertical angle giving it that extra kick, but riding on the edge of that 7-seat row, it was so bumpy that it jackhammered my restraint to my thighs. All dive coasters have wide trains, and the farther you are from the track, the rougher it'll be. But I've never seen a dive that runs like this, let alone one that's brand new. The layout was fine. I like dive coasters with a second vertical drop, and this pretty much had 4 inversions and came back to the station. The worst thing is, this will probably be Dorney's only new coaster over the next decade, and there's just something wrong with it. That makes it the biggest loser of my new credits in 2024. That's a wrap on this video. Let me know what you think of these coasters, if you agree or disagree with my experiences, and which new coasters you rode that you would consider a winner or a loser. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. Also, check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.